views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Welcome to today's verdict. I'm your host and trial attorney, David Lesch. We have a multi-varied show today, starting out with the child tax credit. Will you qualify? How do you apply? And what does that mean? Does the money just go right into the bank account? Do you get a check? It's important. Next thing is what we're going to be discussing is going to be false reporting. When somebody makes a false report against you and there's a police report on file, what can you do about that? How do you prevent people from making false reports? And lastly, a very important issue is the undocumented immigrants throughout the city. Are they being extorted or coerced? For instance, I know that you're not legal, and if you don't give me certain benefits or certain money, I'm going to report you. Well, there's a new law that says you can't do that, and we have a state senator and an assemblywoman on today's show to talk about it. So as you can see, we have much to get to, so stay tuned. Today's verdict starts right now. Okay, welcome back to today's verdict. I'm your host and trial attorney, David Lesch. Anytime we have anyone from the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection on the show, it's just wonderful. And today we have the commissioner, Peter Hatch. Peter, thanks for being here today.
David, thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's always good to have somebody from your office. So I'm going to talk a little bit about today's topic, and maybe you can hash it out for our viewers. It can be a little complicated. And we're talking about the child tax credit. Maybe you could just give a little bit of a synopsis, and then we'll go into some of the specifics if we could, Commissioner.
Absolutely. We want to ensure every eligible New York City family gets their advanced child tax credit, and the deadline's coming up on November 15th. Millions of families across the US have already gotten billions of dollars from the US government. So New York City is offering free help to New York families to make it easy to get their credit, which can be worth up to $3,600 per child. And if families apply before the November 15th deadline, they can get half of the amount they're eligible for this year. Otherwise, they can apply later, and they'll get their tax credit in the spring at tax time. But if they make that move, take that step, get help from us now before November 15th, they can get those dollars in their pocket this year.
And that's the important thing, Commissioner. When we're talking about tax credit, we're not necessarily talking about deductions on taxes. We're talking about checks and money being mailed directly to those who qualify, correct?
That's right. One of the things that's really important is with this child tax credit, even if you don't have an obligation to file taxes because of your income, you can get a check from the government, either mailed to you or direct deposit, just by being eligible. So all you have to do is apply, and we can help you do that. We've got community partners across the Bronx and across the city who can provide free help. You can get appointments to work with them to apply online or go into an office, and it will be cash in your pocket.
Okay, so let's get into some more. So
expenses. I'm
sorry.
sorry.
You could use it for anything, right? And
yes.
Those money that you get just for living, and it's been difficult times, certainly for my clients in the Bronx, for a lot of people throughout the city, just to use it for just daily living expenses, certain money in their pocket. That's really
right. So many families have faced additional financial challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic and can use these funds to pay for daycare, to pay for school tuition, school supplies, clothes for their kids, food, even rent, anything that relates to the ordinary cost of raising children here in New York City.
All right, so we say you got $3,600 per child, right? That's the most.
Up to that amount.
Up to that amount per child. So you got
That's
three children, 3 times 3,600, correct?
That's right, potentially so. It's the amounts that you're eligible for varies based on family income and the age of the child, but it can be up to $3,600.
Okay, so let's get these people some money. How do we go about it? Is there a time limit that we have to apply for in terms of when we have to apply? Do we have to do it by next week, December 31st, tax day? When do they do it by?
Absolutely. We want to make this simple. To get the advanced version of the child tax credit, families need to apply by November 15th. Families can call 311 and say tax credit, and they'll get connected to us to get help. They can go online to nyc.gov/tax prep, and they'll get connected to us as well.
You know, it's like I tell my clients when they have certain deadlines, and I tell them you have to show up for this, or you have to show up for that, or the case is dismissed. November 15th, everybody pay attention. November 15th, you got to get this done by then, correct, Commissioner?
Get it done by November 15th. You can get half of the amount that your family is eligible for right now, which means if you face unexpected expenses around the holidays, you'll have this cash in your pocket and won't necessarily have to resort to, say, using a credit card with a high interest rate. If you miss the November 15th deadline, you can still claim your child tax credit. You just won't get your funds until the spring at tax time.
We want to make sure you get it quick. The quicker you get it, the quicker you can use it. What if you're incarcerated? What if you're in jail?
You're still eligible. Contact us or have your family contact us, and we'll provide that support through trusted community partners in the communities where your family lives.
And I assume maybe these monies can go directly into the bank account. They don't always have to be sent to somebody who may not have a check cashing place nearby or something like that. Am I correct?
We would agree. We would always encourage folks to opt for direct deposit if they have a bank account, and we can help families set up that account if they need that help. For families that don't, they can have it mailed directly to their homes.
All right, let's talk scams. There's always a scam going on with this kind of stuff. Bad people out there trying to take your tax monies. What should they be watching out for if you think someone's applying in your name? What would you tell somebody?
So unfortunately, we have heard reports of some scams, scammers posing as the IRS, saying you need to pay them to help you apply for this. That's not true. Applying for the child tax credit is free. The other thing people should look out for is scammers posing as the IRS and asking for personal information. The IRS, New Yorkers need to know this, the IRS will never call you and ask you for personal information. So if you'd like safe, free help, again, call 311 and say tax prep, or go to nyc.gov/tax prep. That will connect you to us. You'll get information about how to schedule a free appointment with one of our providers that you can do either virtually over the phone or in the office, that will help you do this in a way that is safe and easy and ensure that you get your tax credit.
You know, in terms of sometimes just financial counseling, a lot of my clients, a lot of people in the city, they don't really understand, you know, how to manage their finances once they get some money in their pockets, how to keep it going for a while so they don't end up in a bad situation. Does your department, you know, at the Consumer and Worker Protection help out with that type of situation? Can they give financial counseling? They can?
Absolutely. Through by making the same call or going to the same website, not only can your families access guidance and information, they can also get connected to these same providers in their communities who will not only help them apply for the advanced child tax credit before November 15th, but also can give them support in budgeting, setting up bank accounts, arranging direct deposit, and essentially learning how to manage their finances in a way that is safer and more economical for them.
Listen, the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection does great work. I've told you that offline, and we really appreciate it here. And hopefully, Peter, Commissioner, you'll come back soon and tell us other stuff that you're doing at the department. Okay.
Appreciate the opportunity to talk to Bronx families and everyone watching your show. Thanks
Wonderful.
For having us on.
It's our pleasure. All right, stay with us. Today's Verdict has so much more right after this. All right, welcome back to today's Verdict. I'm your host and trial attorney, David Lesch. We have with us, joining us, a new guest, Anthony Dolci. Anthony, how you doing today?
Doing good. Good to see you, David.
We're going to be talking about stop false police reporting. What does that mean? Just from the very beginning, what does that mean, false police reporting?
Well, false police reporting is when a civilian or law enforcement falsifies a police report against an innocent person. In some cases, even a prosecutor has been known to mislead information against an innocent person during a criminal trial or leave out information that's pertinent to the case. But it's usually done on purpose against a disenfranchised group, a person of color.
And how did you get involved? And what made you decide this was an issue that you wanted to tackle?
Well, I got involved because I was wrongfully arrested back in 2019, and someone had accused me of a crime that I didn't commit. And it took me a year to get the case dismissed. And through my journey and my experiences, and after it was over, I decided to join forces with other families that have been negatively impacted. And last November, Dr. Tawana Guilford and I, we are the co-founders and the co-authors of the Stop False Police Reporting Group and Initiative. And our group meets every Sunday. We give support to each other and other families that have been impacted by this type of crime. And we also talk about our Stop False Police Reporting Initiative, which contains 6 provisions that we want to add to the current 911 false police reporting bill by Senator Kevin Parker.
How often does it happen to the false police reports? 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20? Do you have any data on that at all?
Well, this may surprise you, David, but believe it or not, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office does not track and record law enforcement or civilians who falsify police reports. So one of the provisions in our Stop False Police Reporting Initiative, number 6, is data management. That's a policy change that we need to see happen at the DA's office to really know the real number, to get the statistics. And once someone is found guilty of this type of crime, their name will go on this registry. And then we'll have this will make people less likely to commit this type of crime.
I know there are some ways you can prevent it, or at least you can, bring some peace to yourself by bringing a perjury charge, right? Or even a civil lawsuit. But do these things really happen, or do most people just live with the false report that was made by, somebody from the community or a prosecutor?
Well, in some cases, some people, end up not doing anything about it. They don't end up, reporting it or taking any type of legal action. However, you can get a civil rights attorney to pursue a case against somebody who filed a false police report against you. Is one form of action that you can take.
Now, do we hold the police accountable at all for it, or do we usually just hold the civilian who makes the report? I mean, I can understand if a police officer makes the report, or you can always sue the NYPD, which, that happens all the time for false arrest. We have them in my office if they're dismissed. But do we want to prevent the police from filing reports?
Well, it's not to prevent them from making reports. We just want them to make the reports accurately and honestly, like they're supposed to. They're supposed to be serving and protecting civilians, and they should not be falsifying documents with the intention of trying to harm an innocent individual who's been, wrongfully arrested, who's maintaining their innocence. Provision number 1 is uniformity in our initiative. It actually asks that civilians and law enforcement be eligible for criminal charges, because 911 false police reporting bill really speaks to just civilians. And I think that the language is very important, that it include, government officials, law enforcement in the bill.
Now, I know Senator Parker's bill doesn't push for criminal charges, while your number 1, your uniformity provision, asks that felony charges be brought. How realistic is that in terms of
so far we have over 4,000 signatures on change.org in favor of all 6 of these changes, including the one you just mentioned, felony charges for protected classes of people. And why we want a felony charge for these particular class is because they're the most vulnerable people. And people should not be trying to abuse their position of power to destroy an innocent person's life and throwing them into the system. And to me, when someone is wrongfully incarcerated for a crime they didn't commit, that doesn't speak to me as a misdemeanor crime. It doesn't equate. So I think that the penalty needs to be harder, and we need prosecutors who are going to be willing to prosecute police officers who commit this type of crime. And I will add that, you know, the Stop False Police Reporting Group is not anti-police. We are anti-crime. We want the police to do a good job protecting the city, making it safer, but we got to get rid of the bad apples in law enforcement who are committing this type of crime.
No, you provision number 5, which talks about immigration, no deportation while the criminal case or deportation case is pending. What do you mean by that? I mean, if the person's not here legally and they're being brought up on a charge, you want that charge to be litigated, I guess, or should we say prosecuted, or, you know, listened to by a court before the deportation proceeding starts or continues?
Well, a wrongful arrest against somebody who's undocumented here may cause them to be indirectly deported. And if the arrest was wrongful and against this undocumented person, we want to have them have a chance to clear that criminal allegation, that false allegation. If they're maintaining their innocence, we want to give them a chance to get all of that dismissed first. And we don't feel that a false police report against an undocumented person should cause another domino effect of having them deported. So, you know, people are falling into this trap.
Are you finding support from your local politicians? You know, I know you've been holding different rallies. What's the word on the street, should we say?
Well, so far, we've had Borough President Gail Brewer speak in support of our initiative at our rally. Senator Brad Harleman has also spoken several times at our rally in support. And Alvin Bragg, who is poised to be the next Manhattan DA, has spoken at our last 3 rallies in support of these changes. So we are just under a year of our group being put together. So we're just getting started, but things are slowly moving in the right direction.
What would you say to someone who's watching right now and they think they're a victim of a false report? What would you tell them to do?
Well, they can reach out to us at Facebook, Stop False Police Reporting at Facebook. We have a business page there where they can reach out and leave a message, and I can reach back out to them to talk to them about their case, to give them support. They can come join our meetings on Sunday night to meet other people who've been negatively impacted by this type of crime, so they don't feel alone. We can try to give them advice who they can talk to, who their city council person is in their district. These are some measures that we can provide.
It's all good. All right, Anthony Dolci, all good. We wish you the best of luck. And you know, it's a very interesting topic, and it certainly can scar people for maybe the rest of their life if there's a false report. So we think you're doing some good work here. All right, stay with us. Today's verdict has so much more right after this. Okay, welcome back to today's verdict. I'm your host and trial attorney, David Lesch. We have 2 important guests on today, State Senator Anna Kaplan and Assembly Member Michaelle Solages. Got that name, nailed it. Anyway, we have a important topic we want to discuss. It has to do with reporting undocumented immigrants and how we shouldn't be doing that. Let's start off with you, Senator Kaplan. How did this law come about, if you could?
So, as you're aware, in New York State, we're home to a lot of immigrants. Actually, I believe that's what makes us so special, having people from all over the world calling New York their home. And I think in light of the last few years in this country, immigrants have felt very much targeted and picked on. and they're fearful. And we already had laws in the books about extortion and coercion. We wanted to make sure that we come out with a strong message that immigrants are protected in state of New York. After all, we count on our immigrants as our workforce. They are a big part of our communities. They're fabric of what makes New York so special. And we wanted to make sure that we carry that message that they are protected in state of New York.
And it seems like there's a coalition of various individuals who got together. So I'm going to throw it now to the Assembly Member Solages. What type of situations have you seen, either through your constituents, where immigrants have been targeted? Maybe you can give us some personal stories that you may know about.
Yeah, definitely. When this legislation was submitted, we had a very different federal administration. So it was very commonplace to see the xenophobia, just anti-immigrant rhetoric, not only on the TV, but perpetuated now through employers, abusers, domestic violence abusers, so many different facets. So, for myself, the alarming part and the reason why I decided to collaborate with, Senator Kaplan on this was that, the Queen's DA came to us and said that, people were impersonating ICE agents, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents, and demanding money from victims and threatening them, saying that we're going to deport you if you don't give money. Another instance is that we saw people in rent stabilized apartments being threatened by their landlord, saying that if you don't leave that apartment or if you don't pay me that money, we are going to deport you. And we know that regardless, extortion is a wrong. Extortion is not acceptable in our society. And especially if you're applying it to New Yorkers who may not have immigration status, it's not wrong. And we need to make sure that was codified in law, which we did.
All right, so Senator Kaplan, so now we have the governor signs it into law, but just because you have a law doesn't necessarily mean someone's going to enforce it. What are your thoughts? Does it look like it's something that's going to be taken seriously in terms of making sure that those who accuse are prosecuted?
So I believe, first of all, I think we sent a very strong message that this is not acceptable in the state of New York. So hopefully we'll deter all those people who were using these tactics against our immigrant community and for them not to do it. But yes, it is an active thing that the people who are being targeted need to go ahead to police and file a report.
Now, let's say they do. Let's say they do. They go and they look, someone wants to turn me in. My landlord is charging me 20% more than the other tenants because he knows I'm not legal, and he told me if I don't give him the 20%, he's gonna turn me in. Now that person, she's gonna go to the district attorney. No, she doesn't have to worry at all. Correct?
Correct. It's a matter of filing the report and having law enforcement, DA's office following up on it and seeing the accuracy of the claim and hopefully follow through and hold people accountable.
Yeah, and I also encourage individuals, if they're being coerced or harassed, to try to document it in some sort of way. If your landlord is saying they want more money, tell them, hey, I need a document, and that you could use and use that to support your claims. But this is model legislation. This was passed in California, Colorado, Maryland, Virginia, and we've seen that it works in other states, and that not every case is going to be fruitful, but we were able to get the bad guys.
Either one of you can answer this. As an attorney, I have certain obligations to report criminal conduct. I mean, that's part of my duty as a fiduciary. What duties are there as a layperson to report this when they see this happening to somebody else? Let's say I saw it happening to somebody, and I say, oh, you can't do that. Am I obligated to go to a precinct? Am I obligated to go to the district attorney's office? Any thoughts on that?
I don't think the obligation goes that far, but you could certainly have that conversation with the person who's being targeted and encourage them to go ahead and put it in writing, file the report, and have a record of it.
Well, listen, certainly we're in an environment now where we're we seem to be more pro-immigrant than we've been for a very long time. And that has a lot to do with the administration. You know, it's a different time. But I guess my question to you, Senator, is, do you think this is going to continue? And if so, where do you see us heading in the next, I don't know, I'm going to give you 2 to 3, 4 years down the line?
So David, as an immigrant, I came to this country at age 13. I think most of the immigrants who come to this country are very hardworking people. They came here and they're vulnerable. They came because they couldn't stay in their own country. They come here for a better life. And for most part, they work really hard for themselves, for their family, for a better future.
You know, let's be fair.
To make sure that we stand with them and we show that we care about them as much as the next person.
You know, whenever I've had anyone discussing immigration issues on the show, I always note that many of these people are doing jobs that we don't want to do. And we refuse, we just don't want to do them, the tougher jobs, and they're doing them for us. And then here we are, we turn around and say, well, we don't want you here now. Well, are you going to do these jobs? We're giving them a chance to be here, to work so hard. So I would love the administration just to keep moving forward to protecting those who shouldn't be here. I'm going to throw it back to you, Assembly Member, before we don't have too much time. You have a couple of people watching today. There are some viewers. They're scared. You know, I'm not saying they don't believe you, but you know, they're still afraid. What would you tell them right now? They're watching and they think that they're being taken advantage of.
So there are plenty of community-based organizations, trusted community partners that they can go to. So if they don't feel comfortable going to law enforcement, there are community-based programs. And you know, I know that this program is far and wide, so I suggest that people can search online for those community-based programs, but reach out to them. And they could be also a conduit to help you speak to authorities. But trust me, as you said before, you know, this is New York. You know, going to law enforcement or going to a DA's office is a safe place now. And you will be safe. You will not be deported as long as you come there with truth and honesty. I really believe that, you know, we will protect you because New York is, you know, the melting pot. This is, you know, we have Lady Liberty in the harbor who says, give us your hungry, your poor. You know, we're here to protect them. So, you know, please, you know, trusted partners and law enforcement are your friend.
Well said. I'm going to leave it there. So Senator, Assembly Member, I want to thank both of you for coming on. Maybe in a couple of months, you can come back, let us know how this is shaken out. And if you have any other stuff you want to talk on, just give us a call. We'd love to have you back.
Thank you, David.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. Stay with us. Today's Verdict has so much more right after this. Well, as I told you, we had a big show today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any issues or questions that you would like to see on a further edition of Today's Verdict, feel free to email me at davidlesch@bronxnet.org. And until the next time, remember, know the issues, reach a verdict. We'll see you in 2 weeks.